So at the bottom of the planetary display we have Shesha holding up the earth. This is Shesh, the empowered incarnation. There we have Ananta speaking Bhagavatam to the four Kumaras, and above the 7 subterranean planets. Here we can see Jambudvip, the central island of Bhumandala, and Bharatvarsha is situated on the southern side of that. It's 8 other Varshas with Ilavrita Varsha in the center, various supporting mountains with large trees upon them, described in Srimad Bhagavatam. In the very center of Ilavrita Varsha is Mount Meru, a golden mountain. Atop Mount Meru are the cities of important demigods, Lord Brahma in the center, the 8 Dikpalas in the cardinal directions and sub-directions. Moving out, we can see the broader Bhumandala, 7 concentric islands and oceans surrounding them. The 7th of these islands is Pushkaradweep. On that island is Manasotra mountain, and on the mountain there's various cities of demigods such as Indra. Out further is Lokaloka mountain. These large elephants stand atop Lokaloka mountain to balance Bhumandala. Outside of Lokaloka mountain is Aloka Varsha, which is dark. The rays of the sun and the other luminaries extend up to Lokaloka mountain. On Manasotra mountain here on Pushkaradweep, the sun travels above this mountain at the southernmost point of its annual orbit. Above Bhumandala is Bhuvarloka, which is the residence of the Charanas, Siddhas, Yakshas, Gandharvas, and above there is Swargaloka, beginning from the sun and extending up to the pole star Dhruvaloka. This is the moving part of the planetary display. Here we can see the sun and the moon moving in their chariots. The chariots are being drawn by horses moving in the anti-clockwise direction, but they're traveling with the wheel of time, moving in the clockwise direction faster, so it looks as if they're moving backwards. Above them the zodiac of stars, more planets, and another realm of stars. So here we can see everything moving with the Kala Chakra, circumambulating the axis that connects Mount Meru with Dhruvaloka. Above these planets, we come to the planet of the 7 sages, the Saptarshi. You can see them here. They're commonly known as the Big Dipper, and then Dhruvaloka, the pole star. On the ocean of milk situated there, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, who is the Paramatma within everyone's heart, he resides on Anantashesh. Moving up beyond there, we have Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka. In this video we haven't included many of the details for there, but on Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka we have residences of the Lord such as Lord Varaha, Lord Vamana, and so on. Here's Brahmaloka, and on Brahmaloka we also have a form of the Lord Garbhodakshaya Vishnu as the Sahasra Shirsha Purush. Beyond there is the 7 coverings of the universe, earth, water, fire, etc. And outside of the universes is the abode of Lord Shiva, Shivaloka. There he resides eternally. Beyond Shivaloka, we come to Mahavishnu, Karanodakashaya Vishnu, with innumerable universes that have emanated from the pores of his transcendental body. Here you can see him being served by Rama Devi. Then we come to the Brahmajyoti, the effulgence of the Lord's transcendental body. Penetrating through the Brahmajyoti, we come to the Vaikuntha planets. We're showing 24 planets of the Vaikuntha realm in this model. The Lord with 4 arms is holding the conch, disc, club, and lotus, and the various combinations of those 4 make 24. Then we come to Goloka Vrindavan. Here we can see Radha Madhava, but we'll also be showing the other primary rasas. Krishna with the cowherd boys, Krishna being served, Krishna with Mother Yashoda.
Many millennia ago, an advanced civilization revealed the mystery of the origin and nature of the cosmos. The term Vedic refers to the civilization of ancient India. Angkor Wat, the world's largest temple complex, with walls nearly 1/2 mile on each side, was built between 1112 and 1150 AD in Cambodia. Astronomy and Vedic cosmology are inseparably entwined at Angkor Wat. The central towers represent Mount Meru, the cosmic axial mountain. The 5 internested rectangular outer walls and moats indicate chains of mountains enclosing the world and the cosmic oceans beyond. Science Journal noted that Angkor Wat had encoded precise calendrical, historical, and cosmological themes into the architectural plan for the temple. As many as 18 astronomical alignments have been identified within its walls. Rarely in history has any culture given rise to a structure that so elaborately and expansively incorporates its concept of the cosmos. Similar integration of cosmology and architecture is seen in the massive Indonesian temple at Borobudur. The temple was laid out using the ancient method of Vastu Purusha Mandala. This square diagram harmonizes architecture with the annual movements of the celestial realm. The temple was constructed sometime around 775 AD. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, also known as Srila Prabhupada, author of 84 books on Vedic knowledge and founder of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and the Bhaktivedanta Institute. He desired to erect the world's largest planetarium depicting Vedic cosmology through modern technology. He hoped that this gigantic virtual 3D animated model would give the contemporary world access to the Vedic cosmos.
The Temple of Vedic Planetarium, we shall show the Vedic conception of planetary system within this material world and above the material world.
Vishvanandana Swami, a prominent scholar of Vedic cosmology in the line of Shripad Madhvacharya, feels that the planetarium will expand the horizons of modern cosmological knowledge.
We have a lot of information about this universe in our Vedic and Puranic scriptures. So certainly a person who is interested in exploration, he would get some material for exploration.
The planetarium had many different exhibits, so you wanted some exhibits that would create this doubt in science that they don't have the proper explanation, and that the Bhagavatam has a better explanation.
In the temple, and that, it would show the Vedic cosmology. And I think later on, he said that even if the scientists don't accept it, we don't care. We just show what's in the Bhagavatam. We don't care whether people accept it or not, but we should just show it.
The literature of that period contains a wealth of cosmological knowledge encoded in Sanskrit, arguably the world's oldest language. This knowledge has the potential to enrich our understanding of the cosmos we live in. A fundamental principle of Vedic cosmology is the existence of a dual reality, material and non-material. Here we see the non-material sky filled with innumerable planets of permanent stature. Among these, the topmost planet, Goloka, is shaped like a lotus flower, and it is here that the super-intelligent designer of the cosmos, Sri Krishna, resides with his associates. Although knowledge of the non-material realm remains beyond ordinary perception, the Vedic knowledge of the material cosmos has been recognized as extraordinary by many eminent Western thinkers.
As in Hindu mythology, it is a continual dance of creation and destruction involving the whole cosmos, the basis of all existence and of all natural phenomena. Long before it became a scientific aspiration to estimate the age of the earth, many elaborate systems of the world chronology had been devised by the sages of antiquity. The most remarkable of these occult timescales is that of the ancient Hindus.
Thus the Vedic literatures answer the question whether the cosmos always existed or it had a beginning. The temporal arena of repeated universal creations and destructions exists in a corner of the non-material sky.
This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again.
Here we behold a form of the superintelligent being Vishnu, reclining in mystic slumber amid the causal ocean. When he exhales, millions of universes issue from his body and expand, until he inhales when all the universes return within him. The universe is a sphere encased by successive coverings of the elements earth, water, fire, air, ether, intelligence, and ego. As a coconut has its hard outer shell and inner liquid, so the universe has its outer coverings and an inner space half filled with ocean water. On that ocean another Vishnu expansion reclined on a serpent bed while being massaged by his consort Lakshmi. From his navel arose a lotus on which Brahma was born. Initially, the universe was pitch dark and Brahma engaged in meditation. Then he was empowered to create the universe. This account of creation may appear fantastic to some, but modern scientific theories also require fantastic leaps of faith to explain the origin of the universe. This is evident from the words of eminent physicist Stephen Hawking.
Either we have failed to see 99% of the universe, or we are wrong about how the universe began.
Vedic cosmology explains that the universe is made up of 14 vertically arranged planetary systems, or lokas. Each system resembles a galaxy and comprises stars, planets, and other celestial bodies. The topmost planetary system is Satyaloka, the abode of Brahma, which is at a height of 1.87 billion miles above Earth. Below the Satyaloka planetary system is the Tapaloka planetary system, the abode of the ascetics, which is at a height of nearly 1 billion miles above the Earth. Here the ascetics live in a solitary, serene environment conducive for yoga and meditation on transcendence. Their disciplined life of joyous austerity prepares them for returning back to the non-material world. As we move down from Tapaloka, we pass through Maharloka and Janaloka until we reach the Svargaloka planetary system, also known as heaven. The alignment of heavenly bodies around the pole star was elucidated by Srila Prabhupada in a letter.
We can see that at night the whole planetary system is turning around. And the pole star being the pivot. His planet has its orbit fixed, but the sun is moving up and down, north and south. It It is not that we shall accept the theory that the sun is fixed and others are all going around the sun. That is not correct.
In talks with leading disciples, Srila Prabhupada compared the revolution of planets and stars to a spectacular rotating chandelier.
It's like this chandelier, and so the whole thing is moving.
Then he developed this idea of the temple of the Vedic planetarium, and how he'd always go like this, dome, dome. He'd hold his hand like that. And he'd say, and then from the center of the dome, a chandelier, which shows the planets according to the Vedic version. Some spectacular kind of chandelier.
This planetary system is rotating from east to west, and it is hanging like the chandelier, getting shelter on the pole star, that we can see every night.
That the pole star or the North Star remains fixed and does not orbit in the sky is well known to astronomers and sailors alike. Less known is the fact that the pole star rotates powerfully on its own axis. The ancient Vedic text called Matsya Purana explains, the planets and stars are all attached to the pole star by invisible astral cords of wind called pravaha. The revolution of the pole star causes the orbital motion of other planets and stars. Through meditation, yogic astronomers visualize the planets and stars as different parts of the body of Shishumar, the transcendental dolphin. The pole star, the topmost of the heavenly planets, is like the capital of the middle universe. Here, the third form of Vishnu resides on an ocean of milk. In times of universal disturbances, the demigods headed by Brahma come here to appeal for help. The pole star is also the abode of Dhruva, a pure and exalted devotee of the Lord. Now let's look at the workings of our solar system. The mainstream scientific notion has been to portray the solar system as heliocentric or sun-centered. In the Vedic geocentric model, the sun, planets, and constellations revolve around the Earth in an approximately 24-hour period. What may surprise many is that a geocentric or Earth-centered model is also capable of explaining the cosmic phenomenon with equal if not better accuracy, as is confirmed by many eminent scientists.
Either CS could be used with equal justification. The two sentences, the sun is at rest and the earth moves, or the sun moves and the earth is at rest, would simply mean two different conventions concerning two different CS. We know that the difference between a heliocentric theory and a geocentric theory is one of relative motion only, and that such a difference has no physical significance. Obviously, it matters little if we think of the earth as turning about on its axis, or if we view it at rest while the fixed stars revolve around it. Geometrically, these are exactly the same case of a relative rotation of the earth and the fixed stars with respect to one another.
Although the heliocentric model has been widely propagated, it has never been proven.
There is no planetary observation by which we on Earth can prove that the Earth is moving in an orbit around the Sun.
The Vedas give amazing information about the Sun. Do you know what energy runs the Sun? Is it nuclear fusion? Is it volcanic energy? The Vedas say it is water. Yes, water. The Sun evaporates water from all over the creation and uses it as fuel, just as lightning uses moisture. Modern science knows that sunlight contains many types of rays, such as ultraviolet, infrared, gamma rays, X-rays, etc. The Vedas describe that sunlight contains 100,000 different types of rays, each possessing specific subtle properties. Just as in a house, electricity regulates coolness, heat, light, sound, etc., so the sun's rays control heat and cold, day and night, summer and winter, darkness and light throughout the universe. The Vedic geocentric model explains how the sun moves around the pole star situated vertically above Earth's north pole. The sun moves upward on an incline for half a year and then downward for the next half. This motion produces two effects on Earth, namely the changing of the seasons and the varying durations of day and night. Celestial vision reveals a personality residing over the sun. His name is Vivasvan, and he rides on a golden chariot pulled by 7 divine horses. The chariot has one wheel which moves on celestial Manasotra mountain. The horizontal shaft is linked to the axial hub of the universe, Mount Meru, and the diagonal shaft is linked to the pole star. With each circular path, the wheel gradually moves laterally inward for 6 months and then outward for 6 months. Similar to the chariot's vertical motion, this lateral action fine-tunes seasonal changes on Earth. When the orbital motion of the sun is viewed from above, its illumination is seen to extend out to half of the greater Earth plane. During its orbit, the sun passes over the 4 cities situated in the 4 cardinal directions. The city over which the sun is passing experiences noon, and the city in the opposite direction experiences midnight. The 2 other cities experience sunrise and sunset. The zodiac is a conceptual celestial plate encompassing the entire sky. Like the face of a clock, the zodiac is divided into 12 divisions of 30 degrees each, called signs of the zodiac, or rashis. Each named according to the constellation of stars residing within them. These signs serve as a set of reference markers for measuring the movements of the moon, sun, and the planets. The zodiac completes one clockwise revolution of 360 degrees in every 24-hour period. The moon travels through the zodiac, but due to its slower angular velocity, it completes only about 347 degrees in 24 hours, falling behind by about 13 degrees. The day after the new moon day, we see one moon phase. The next day, the moon again completes 347 degrees, and we see the moon in its second phase. In this way, the moon appears to travel in the opposite direction through the zodiac. This is also called retrograde motion. Thus, the phases of the moon increase each day for 15 days until the full moon. Then the moon's phases decrease gradually by 1 phase each day until the dark moon night. Below the sun is a dark or invisible planet named Rahu. When this planet comes between Earth and the sun on the new moon day, or Amavasya, while the moon is in the same conjunction or straight line, a solar eclipse takes place. Similarly, when Rahu comes between the Earth and the moon on the full moon day, or Purnima, while the sun is in the same conjunction, a lunar eclipse takes place. This is seen by anyone on Earth who can see the moon. The eclipse is either full or partial depending on the movement of Rahu. At least 5,000 years ago, the Vedas were able to predict eclipses precisely. This science is still used today with the same extraordinary accuracy.
Science is defined as systematized knowledge of things around us. So if we prove that Vedic cosmology is systematized knowledge, that would prove, in other words, scientific nature of Vedic cosmology. Modern cosmic science is only a few centuries old, whereas our Vedic cosmology is several thousands of years old. So the modern science certainly cannot be a base for ancient Vedic cosmology.
Vedic cosmology presented from the Vaishnava point of view and as based on the Vedas, we will find appreciation by real scientists because it has its own scientific basis.
Science has always changed. Over the centuries, one theory after the other has come and replaced the former theory. And what is prevalent, everyone has accepted. But Vedanta doesn't change.
Do you say that these modern scientists have found out everything in this universe? They have not explored all the possibilities in the field of cosmology. Only they have explored to some extent. They have seen through this Nalika Yantra or the telescopes and microscopes, etc., which are having their own limitations. And people getting the information through limited devices, can they say they know everything? I don't agree with this particular point at all.
Kepler put Sun at a distance of 30 million miles from Earth, but the modern scientists placed the same Earth at a distance of 93 million miles. In 1930, Pluto came into existence. 2006, it vanished.
Vedic cosmology gives descriptions of the entire cosmos, including its subtle features. Perception and access to these subtle features, however, requires karmic qualification. Consequently, much of the cosmos described earlier, as well as parts of the cosmography about to be described, are imperceptible and inaccessible to us earthly inhabitants. In Bharatvarsha, the famous mountains known as the Himalayas are tall and immovable. Here we find an abode of Lord Shiva, the greatest of the demigods. In the center of Jambudvip stands the most extraordinary divine golden mountain called Meru. Meru is shaped like an inverted cone, and it is the sporting place for the demigods. Around Meru are many supporting mountains called Kesara. On top of Mount Meru is a resort of Brahma called Manavati. The famous celestial river Ganges descends to the center of Manavati and then flows out into 4 directions. Surrounding Manavati in the 8 directions are the resort cities of the chief demigods. One of these cities is Amaravati, the resort of Indra, king of heaven. King Indra lives here in majestic opulence, attended to by musicians, dancers, and reciters.
This is what you call as Brahmasavana, the place of the palace.
Knowledge of Meru and the cosmography of the greater earth has been preserved and taught carefully by learned scholars in the preceptorial line known as the Madhva Sampradaya. Four elephants of inestimable size are placed at the 4 directions for balancing the greater earth. Below the earthly planetary system are 7 subterranean realms named Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, and Patala, which do not receive sunlight and which are inhabited primarily by demoniac living entities. To reach the first one must go 80,000 miles downward through underground tunnels. At successive depths of 80,000 miles are the remaining 6 netherworlds, all of which are fully developed underground civilizations. In the 4th level downward, Talatala Loka, lives the magical architect Mayadanava, who has designed many brilliantly decorated cities where proud materialists reside. Below the netherworlds are the 28 hellish planetary systems. The demigod of justice, Yamaraj, judges the unrighteous human beings after their deaths and sends them to one of these planets. There, errant souls are administered appropriate punitive measures corresponding to their misdeeds. The earthly and subterranean planetary systems rest upon one of the hoods of the gigantic divine serpent, Shesha. Shesha in turn is held up by the colossal transcendental tortoise, Kurma. And Kurma resides in the ocean that fills half the universe. Vedic cosmological knowledge is revealed in 2 primary texts, namely the Puranas and the Jyotisha. Among the Jyotisha texts, the Surya Siddhanta is prominent and gives precise mathematical formulae for calculating planetary motions. The Surya Siddhanta contains extraordinary astronomical calculations which predate modern science itself. However, many contemporary scholars have been unable to understand Puranic cosmology.
According to Thai cosmology, Sumeru Mountain is considered the pillar of the world as well as the center of the universe. The mountain, supported by Ananda fish, stays above the surface of the water. It is the residence of spirits ranging from deities in heaven to devils in hell. It's just like the Norse. Look at the Yggdrasil tree that goes up into heaven and down into hell. This is the same. So see, babe, check this out. It says, according to Thai cosmology, Sumeru Mountain is considered the pillar of the world as well as the center of the universe. See, that's it. It's the North Pole. It's the magnetic mountain. In the middle, it's the center of the universe. So this is a geocentric cosmology that the Thais believed for thousands of years. So let's go across the bridge and see this mountain in the center of the universe. Early explorers said that there was rivers that fed into the mountain, and they changed directions every 6 hours, sucking in and then pushing out, and that's what caused the tides on Earth. And so this big fish here could be representative of these rivers. They're like a whirlpool. They said it would suck the ships right into it, just like a whirlpool, and that the magnetic mountain was so powerful that it would pull the nails right out of the ships. This temple's very magnetic looking, the coloration of it and everything. This is my first time here too, so I have no idea what we're looking at. See some of the artwork inside. Check this out. So they've got flat Earth disk, Sumeru in the middle. It's a lot like the UN thing. Got Jambudweep down there. It's just like the Hindu cosmology. It talks about it down here. So you've got Sumeru there. Some other mountains, 7, 4 continents on either side. It's right in the middle. Below is Hell, the demon world. Above it, you've got 6 heavens, all the way up to Nirvana. It's a lot like the Atlantean myth. It's comparing the actual physical world to the spiritual one with the 7 chakras. So you can be taken up high to heaven, or you can fall down the 7 chakras down there. cosmology system. 3 worlds. In the cosmology ideal of Hinduism and Buddhism, Sumeru Mountain is the core and center of Earth and universe, which should be supported by a gigantic fish. 4 continents and 4 oceans. It's just like the 4 rivers in Gerard Mercator's map. And Sumeru is the magnetic mountain in the middle. So it's not just Mercator saying this. This is well known for thousands of years. But nowadays, they tell us there's nothing but ice at the North Pole. Do you believe them?
There are many cosmological traditions around the world which share important features of Bhagavata cosmology. These include a cosmic axial mountain or pillar, which is often identified with a local mountain, such as Mount Olympus in Greece. These traditions also include other standard features, including those shown in this generic world model. The cosmology of the Bhagavatam and the Puranas is shared in its broad features by Buddhism, and it is widespread in the Buddhist countries of Asia. This East Asian picture depicts a square version of Mount Meru and the oceans and islands of Bhumandala, surmounted by planetary orbits. This Korean wheel map shows a central continent surrounded by a circular ocean and another circular continent. Joseph Needham, in his treatise on Chinese science, traces these wheel maps to India or Babylon. Here is a Babylonian wheel map. Wheel maps were also made in medieval Europe. In these Judeo-Christian maps, Jerusalem and the sacred hill called Mount Zion were identified as the world axis. Somehow or other, the tradition of Jambudweep seems to have influenced Gerardus Mercator, who placed a mountain surrounded by a circular continent at the north pole of his map of the Arctic region. The 4 perpendicular rivers or channels flowing from the central mountain correspond to the 4 branches of the celestial Ganges flowing from Mount Meru. Here is a Phoenician seal with a personified world mountain and 4 streams issuing forth at right angles. The Dogon tribe, living near the upper bend of the Niger River, posit a circular continent with a central pillar surmounted by the residence of their high god, Amma. Note the world-girdling serpent in the circular ocean. The ethnologist Evans Wentz identifies this Navajo sand painting as a representation of the 4 sacred directional mountains of the Navajos. In many traditions, the world mountain is surrounded by 4 mountains in the cardinal directions, and we also see this in the Bhagavatam and other Puranas. The color scheme is similar to that found in Puranic and Buddhist traditions. The 4 directional mountains of Jambudweep have 4 sacred trees on their summits. These include the Jambu tree, after which Jambudweep is named. The theme of a cosmic tree of life is very common, and this tree often grows on the world mountain or stands in place of it. Here we see the Scandinavian tree of life called Yggdrasil. The apocryphal biblical literature describes a tree of life with 4 rivers of honey, milk, oil, and wine that flow down into Eden. For comparison, the Bhagavatam has rivers of special juices flowing from its 4 sacred trees. This Assyrian seal shows the tree of life on the world mountain plus 2 sacred streams. In this East Asian picture, the tree of life stands upon the column of Mount Meru, centered on the ring pattern of Bhumandala. The Mayans of Central America have a tree of life that extends through 7 heavens, and they also speak of 5 lower worlds. Graded heavens and underworlds are found in many cosmologies, including that of the Bhagavatam. Here we see the cosmology of the Shipibo tribe of the Peruvian Montea. This includes the tree of life, the circular continent and surrounding ocean, and the world-girdling serpent. The cosmology of the Warao of the Orinoco Delta also features a serpent of being that surrounds their world. Here we see the Norse serpent that surrounds Midgard, the inhabited world of Norse cosmology. The Bhagavatam places a universal serpent called Anantashesha beneath Bhumandala. He is generally depicted as supporting the earth from beneath, but the Mahabharata also says that he encircles her in his coils. The Bhagavatam places the cities of Brahma and the 8 Lokapalas on top of Mount Meru. Similarly, many traditions place the abode of the gods on top of their axial mountain or pillar. Here is the geometric layout of the cities of the 8 Lokapalas, or world guardians. These figure in the Vastu Purusha Mandala used to lay out temples in traditional Indian architecture. The grid of the Vastu Purusha Mandala is also associated with the nakshatra constellations marking the ecliptic. Thus the earthly side of a temple was connected with the heavenly realm of the ecliptic. The Bhumandala disk represents the exoteric domains of the earth and planets. In contrast, the cosmic axis, extending perpendicular to Bhumandala, is filled with esoteric meaning. It represents the path of ascent or descent of the soul. In addition to the orbits of the sun, moon, and planets, there are different worlds or lokas arrayed above Bhumandala along the cosmic axis. These upper worlds can be entered through mystic cities, and they are accessible only to persons of advanced spiritual consciousness. The Bhagavatam describes the vertical dimension of the Brahmanda as a universal form of God, extending from the lowest world at the soles of the feet to the highest at the crown of the head. In this traditional picture, we see the rings of Bhumandala forming the belt of the universal form. Here the positions of the worlds are indicated in relation to the universal form. The levels in the universal form are associated with the spinal chakras on which yogis meditate, and the spine itself is called Meru Danda, after Mount Meru, the cosmic axis. The ascent of the soul through different levels of the Brahmanda is analogous to the ascent of the life force through the chakras in the body. In general, the vertical dimension of the universe represents the path of ascent or descent of the soul through different worlds in different states of consciousness. It lies perpendicular to the plane of Bhumandala, which is the world of the planetary orbits.